right, everybody. Well, Bitcoin continues to be very volatile. Honestly, at this point, Bitcoin it does look very strong. That's something that I want to go over is on the 4 hour. Yeah, you know what? We're pumping to the upside. It looks like this is a very strong trend. My problem with this, and I've been talking about this for a while, is this is the exact same setup we've had 3 times already on these macro swings. We get our lower low, we pull back to the 786,886, lower low, 786,886. Oh, I should add at those levels, tons of FOMO posts, right? As soon as we got into this fib pocket, I started seeing 150,000, 250,000. I saw $1 million price target on Bitcoin as soon as we ended up hitting this level. Every thumbnail on every video starts getting very bullish. And to be fair, I get it. It looks strong. But when you look at the market structure for what it is, we have done the exact same movements since March. So we've been in this trend for 8 months now. And I mean, the same people who are telling you that, oh, we're super bullish right now, all-time highs are right around the corner, they might be correct. That's the thing. They might be correct. But they will also teach you the trend is your friend until the end. And this is a very obvious trend I have laid out here. Just easily mapped out. I know it looks like a lot, but when you really dive in, I mean, yes, here we had this fib pull into the 786,886. We get that lower low structure, pull back to the 786,886, etc. So this swing right here, this is literally no different than any of these at this point. Yes, that can be invalidated at any point. We break this lower high structure. That's the first time that I will actually consider, this trend might be changing here. That even if that happens, there's still the possibility of a big pullback. I'm going to talk about that. Not as big as some of the previous ones I've talked about, but there could still be some surprise in the market that I'll go over in a little bit here. But as it stands, I mean, I know a lot of people want to say that, hey, we have a higher high. Hey, we have a higher high. And yes, on these smaller ranges we do. But on the macro ranges, we have not broken below 49. So that's our low. We have not broken above that 70K. So that's still our high. So, I mean, until we break out of that range, that's the range I have pulled, and it hasn't changed. Since we bottomed out in August at around 49K, I have been warning about this box. Not to say we can't smash through it. If we do end up breaking through, so then this is going to be where it could be absolute maximum pain because it would wreck so many people. I think it would be quite hysterical, actually. This would not be near as bearish as some of the other targets that I'm talking about. Because in this case, we would actually be taking out that lower high structure. So far, we haven't done that. But if we end up breaking that level, it would still be mega bullish if we came down to this level. And everybody at that point would think that, oh God, like, again, everyone would get super bearish into support just like it always happens. But in this case, I think it would be quite bullish because we would have this new fib pulled, right? After a structure break like that, of a massive swing like that, we could still get a massive pullback back to that 54. It totally depends how this happens, right? And again, this is very theoretical. I just like to play hypothetical because if the chart starts doing that, I mean, that's the point of analysis. Is it doesn't mean I'm trading this right now. It means that if this starts to look like something that's a possibility, then I will absolutely start to trade it. But at this point, it's just kind of something to watch out for. But that does not have to happen. If we end up breaking that 70K, I mean, it's absolutely possible that we see FOMO just come into the market and we actually do get that parabolic run going into the election and all that sort of stuff that everybody's calling for. You know what? Absolutely, in that case, I'm open to that possibility. But as it stands right now, I still can't shake the feeling that we're going significantly lower. We do have a couple things. So when I go out to my weekly chart, because this is the one that I've actually been mega bearish on for, I think it's been since June or whatever it was. One thing to consider is the RSI has broken a pretty intense trend line there. That diagonal resistance there, you know what? There is more than 3 touch points there. I consider that a valid trend line. It has broken. The problem is that, for one, yes, maybe it's an early warning sign, but we still haven't really broken the resistance going along with that. This white trend line that I have here, we tried to get above it. So far, it's almost looking like a little liquidity grab, like it might be getting rejected here. There is 3 days left in this candle. So I want to be very clear. I mean, this candle could do absolutely anything at this point, but I think it could trick a lot of people. You know, if we just kind of close somewhere in here after the weekly candle, a lot of people will think that is extremely bullish because, you know, we're kind of closing over this resistance here. But at the end of the day, our structure and the swing that we're currently in on a macro scale is actually this wick down to this wick, because that range has not broken yet. That's the way I look at market structure anyways. I mean, the thing is, we could have the same trend lines, the same indicators, trade the market completely different. Like, obviously, I'm just saying the way that I'm looking at things. If you guys totally disagree with me and have your own trading thoughts, I mean, by all means, don't trade solely off what I'm saying. But this is just kind of how I'm looking at it. This is kind of how I'm preparing to go into it. Just kind of wondering, does this make sense that we would get, you know, a big rejection really any time in the next, well, how much more would that be? Really anywhere in the next 5%. If we saw a harsh rejection, does it make sense that we would dump down towards that 53K level and then possibly beyond, right? That's not my bullish level. That's not where I'm bullish at this point, because again, haven't broke out of this bearish trend yet. But that's where I'd at least be considering, okay, as far as a Stuber fib trade setup goes, that would be my first target. That's my range target. So that's the thing, guys. Like, whenever I'm posting in the group chat and other people are posting in the group chat, I see so many people looking at Stuber fibs, and that's awesome. I'm glad that it's helping a lot of people. Like, obviously, that's my favorite trading strategy. And this 4-hour chart, that is a Stuber fib setup. It's no different than any ones that I look at on the 5-minute or the 1-minute. If anything, quite often longer time frames have more momentum to them, and they're actually harder to manipulate out of that, or harder to break that structure. Obviously, some Stuber fib setups fail, right? That's why we have invalidation levels, because not every trade, no trade setup is going to win every time. That's where it's all about having, when you have a loss, they're controlled losses, right? So, and that's where I have, honestly, even that the invalidation on the 4-hour is actually up around 73K for as far as I have the fibs. But as soon as we start breaking that 70K, it is going to start just looking a little more real to me is all. But so let's think about it. Does it make sense we would go to the downside from here? Does it make sense to get a rejection? Where's the liquidity? Where would the market maker want to push this market? Let's bring up some liquidity. All the high leverage, all these gold yellow bars are all 50 to 100x leverage liquidations. There's a lot of them to the downside. There's not really any to the upside. So there's a little bit of conflicting signals here, because if we actually look at the long short ratio, there is currently, it looks like retail is short heavy. So that's interesting, because we bring this up and the actual heavy liquidations are still to the downside. So maybe it's just that a ton of people have opened very small hedge shorts, or just very, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to understand how this indicator is actually on the back end, how it's pulling its data, whatever. But all I'm seeing here is there's a ton of liquidations to the downside. And according to social media, I would agree with that, because everybody is in full euphoria right now. Everyone thinks that the blue sky breakout is an absolute guarantee. Although I'm seeing reasons why, yes, it could happen. There's no guarantee. And to say there's no red flags at this point, when you look at this very simply laid out chart, I mean, there's a lot of red flags that suggests that we might not be going much higher. Obviously, we're going to have to see what happens, but I just can't. Basically, I was saying for a long time now that one of the reasons I love doing these streams with you guys is because it really helps me kind of have a bit of a trade journal, right? And every single week I've been following this 4-hour chart, this exact setup. And I basically said, and I think it was when we bottomed out here, for our bounce, I was still saying, I still think that this level could end up being resistance, and I kept mentioning it every single video. The reason I do that is because I want to remember when we get to this level, and I kept saying that people are going to get so much FOMO at this level, and I'm warning myself ahead of time that, hey, I'm going to start feeling FOMO at those levels. And honestly, I feel it too, you guys. I feel like all-time highs are right around the corner, but I'm not going to trade that because the charts don't agree with it yet. That's not to say I'm not still invested in crypto. I never panic sold everything. It's nothing like that. I am just looking at this as, hey, this is how I'm trading the market with leverage to make some money, right? Very different than my overall opinion about crypto, because I'm extremely bullish about crypto as a whole. It's just I'm looking at which way can I make where I see the low risk setups, right? Just, yeah, absolutely. At this point, it looks like there's a lot of strength, but resistance always looks like it has strength. Back here, I remember seeing, again, social media. Everybody was screaming all-time highs. Here we go again. Over here, guaranteed all-time highs. Over here, oh, Trump is giving a speech, all-time highs. We just keep seeing the same thing right in the Fibonacci pocket. So until that trend changes, I've made such nice shorts in these areas in the past. If this one doesn't work out, that's fine. The last three did. So, I mean, just playing my odds. I'm going to keep taking this trade setup every time I see it, just like I do basically on the 1 minute and the 5 minute. I trade the same strategy all the time. That's why I'm in a short from 67,875 at this point. I still do have a part of my running position from last week. I am in a partial long. My average entry is 62,505. It was actually 59,047, but I added to it a little bit the other day. But I've paid myself on that position. My stop loss is well in profit on that position. And as far as hedging a short up here, I just keep trying to scalp some sort of a short. I'm still treating the reason I'm talking about these levels so much on the 4 hours, because if we're at such a level to be cautious at, right? Whether you're like me and you're extremely bearish, it would still be dumb to toss caution out the window at this level, because we are very close to seeing some very strong price action, in my opinion. But the thing is, we're not quite there yet. So I still am bearish on the chart because we're at resistance. But that's why I have no problem looking at shorts, but I'm still being cautious, so I'm paying myself on the way. I only have half of this position running still. I was paying myself along the way. But I'm hoping to catch a running position. At this point, I have two nice positions running that I have nothing to stress about at this point, because no matter what, I'm just going to pay myself more on either one of these positions. And that's the thing, right? Is a lot of people are going to predict this price action completely wrong, but they're still going to make money as a trader. And a lot of people are going to absolutely nail their analysis with what's going to happen, and they're still going to lose money anyways. So at the end of the day, all that matters is, that's why I always say, reacting over predicting any day, right? We don't know for sure what's going to happen. Yes, I've been very bearish for months, and it has played out like I said it was going to, but I still don't know for sure that I didn't know for sure that was going to happen. It was just theories until as it played out. I mean, yeah, I just keep playing the trend that I think is going to keep playing, but I'm still looking for those setups. I'm still managing my risk. I'm still taking profits. Updating stop losses, all that sort of stuff, right? So that's very important, that as a trader, you always need to have a backup plan. What are you going to do if you are wrong? What is worst case scenario if you're wrong on your position? That's why invalidations come into play, right? But yeah, so we're just gonna have to see what happens, guys. Honestly, I don't know what's gonna happen. I've told you what I think will happen, but that doesn't mean to just YOLO into a crazy short right here just because I say that I'm bearish, because I mean, anything can change at any time, right? But yeah, that's basically the structure I'm looking at on the weekly chart. I mean, like I said, same thing, same downtrend. If you want to say that, hey, well, this was just a wick, so that structure break doesn't count. Well, okay, well, if we're gonna play that game, that one does. Either way, there is a lower low here, the way I'm looking at it. So we just have this series of lower highs, all these red horizontal rays I have here. That's just how our lower highs step down as we set lower lows, confirming those, right? So I think that if we break this downward sloping trend line on the weekly, get a weekly close above that. Actually, no, sorry. When I zoom in, it's actually slightly different. I like exact touch points, and it's actually even a little bit higher. So what's another one? Can we find another random one? Sorry, I just like to really look for random. Oh, that's interesting. I don't really like that one because actually both of these. I like trend lines to have at least 3 touch points before I consider a breakout of them. However, I would consider a failed attempt at a third time that might be just some sort of a swing fail, right? Just like we see swing fails on horizontal levels, I look for them on diagonals as well. And if we end up closing the candle below this trend line, and then we see on the shorter time frames that we're respecting it, let's say as resistance on the 5 minute or even the 1 minute, there might be a decent short opportunity there with a nice tight stop loss, right? That's where I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's where I don't typically like setting blind orders, right? When I'm doing my trading, I like to, especially with trend lines and stuff, I want to see how those levels are reacted with. The only thing that I trade differently on that front is Stuber fibs. And that's just me personally, but I like to set those in advance generally, just because quite often there's an instant rejection. And sorry, I'm bringing this up like that is a Stuber fib. It's actually not, as I went over, because this isn't a lower low. But same thing, right? We really never hung out at the 786 for very long. So, but other than that, if I'm looking at trading trend lines or anything like that, I like to see how they're reacted with. And that's where I would, whether I'm looking at them on the 4 hour, the 1 hour, whatever, and then I kind of, if I set alerts on those trend lines, and then I can zoom into the 1 minute or the 5 minute and see if there's some sort of a liquidity grab or fake out just like this. Again, there is 3 full days until this candle closes, so anything can happen at this point. But so far, we're technically respecting that trend line as resistance. Interesting. Yeah, we're just going to, I want to check, sorry, I'll catch up on the chat in a sec here, guys. Still, that is a higher high signal. Let's zoom out to the 5 minute. I like to find these pivot points on the 5 minute and pull fibs from them. So even though that's a higher high, I do like pulling fibs from those pivot points quite often. So I like to see that, that's a little bit of validation to that fib pull as a range. Even if it's going to remain bullish, there's still a decent chance, I think, that we pull down to this level here around, what is that, 66.9K? That would be, again, this isn't quite a Stuber fib setup, but if it were, that would be the target. So if it's going to play out the same like this in this range, that's kind of what I'd be expecting. How does that look on the 1 minute? Because, yeah, the reason for that yellow fib then, that's the 214. That would be if I pulled this swing basically from where we've currently bottomed to where we've currently topped. And notice that yellow fib just front runs my 786 a little bit. So that's kind of why I use that as my first target in general when I take trade setups or take trades. ALGO Master, let's see what this is saying. So this is still trending to the upside. This is one way that I really like using the MDX ALGO Master, is I like to look for which way the buy and sell signals are trending basically. Quite often I'll use that as confirmation as am I looking at the right direction. Right now, this would obviously be going against my short, but like I said, I've already paid myself on half that short, so I'm okay leaving it. And especially because That was taken last night, and this is just a reversal. This is just an uptrend on the 1 minute, right? And obviously that trend shifted quite a while ago, so at any time that could shift again. So no reason to panic out of my short with that. But yeah, this would absolutely have been a reason for me to start taking profits as well, right? That's another thing. So many people just like to use these indicators for forcing more entries, just finding ways to get into positions because of FOMO. I often use these as risk management, or more so taking profits and stuff like that. Just looking for early reasons to get out of a position, or all that sort of thing as well, right? So there's several different ways you can use them. But yeah, to see the buy signals and the sell signals trending to the upside right now, I mean, there's still some strength there on the 1 minute. What I'd really like to see now, just to give a little bit of added confidence in this fib pull to think that we would go down here, would be if we would end up seeing a lower sell signal come in. So let's say at some point we'll get another buy signal, and then if it reverses and all of a sudden we see, so let's say we see a buy signal, and then we end up seeing a slightly lower sell signal to this one. That would be just, added confirmation, in my opinion, that, well, this down move looks validated, that, I think it's at least possible. Well, like I said, the target on that would be just down here. Just a way that I like to use them for, just when I'm scalping the charts. Honestly, any time frame, because structure and the way I use signals, it's not like when I see these buy and sell signals, it's not like, oh, there's a buy signal, enter a long right now. It's more so looking for that validation that it's time to start looking for positions in that direction, or like I said, time to start taking caution if you're trading the opposite direction or things like that. That's more so how I like to use them. Price action number one, in my opinion, all the time. And from there, I like to look for those second opinions with the indicators, basically. I sure hope you guys could hear me.
Did you hear about your fellow Canadian wedding? Ryan wedding?
The which?
No, Ryan wedding, the snowboarder.
No.
He just got busted for running a $1 billion cocaine ring
Oh, man.
and was on the run.
Uh-oh.
So that was the reason why Stu was away.
Yeah. Well, you guys, no, we don't have snow here yet, so I can't even hide it.
Yet.
Sorry, just catching up on messages here as well. Yeah, short squeeze. I see what you're seeing there. As a possible little last pump like that. The thing is, none of those made it above the 886, or just like wicked above, and we've already done that, so it is already kind of the same as that. But even that photo you shared, so that would basically put us up to that lower high structure around 70K. Yeah, just to get that last little bit of FOMO out of the market. Absolutely possible. We can't let Gareth win. We must moon. I was thinking that. I was like, uh-oh. Why am I agreeing with him? Let me just bring up that chart there, Waffles. Oh yeah, that there's some big orders significantly lower. What would that be, like 47K somewhere in there?
Yeah, it's between 50K and 45, and
Yeah.
still a little bit lower, 52 even. But it's more than 2.5K. It's really more than that. But the stock one, the close to each other, is around this 2.5K Bitcoin. And that's the only order placement, the biggest order placement on the whole chart. There's nothing in between.
So, and actually, that's another thing I want to talk about. Oh god, this is the scary chart. This is the one that nobody wants to see. I'm drooling for it. Um, I mean, let's be real. If, and this is a big if, right? Like, if we end up getting that massive dump to the downside, let's say we do continue this trend, and you know what? We are hitting that Stuber fib. We're going to reject hard here. We can all agree that there is some massive support down at this level, basically from 40 to 44,000. There's no denying that. But the thing is, if we do that, we've just, even if we get a very violent reaction off that level, something like this, the Moon Boys would once again end up FOMOing, I can almost guarantee it, right into that same fib pocket. And that's where I think, again, it could absolutely, that trend could break. But damn well that if we ended up pulling that kind of bullshit where we drop to this level and pump up to that level, the FOMO posts would be unbelievable. Here we come, all-time highs, 200,000 around the corner, et cetera, when it could actually just be that lower high where we actually end up getting the full Stuber fib swing.
Awesome. Can't wait.
That's something I can't shake, the feeling that the market's going to get very devastated if this kind of thing happens, because for one, it would take a long time to play out, which would be kind of weird around election season. So it's a timing thing that makes me think it's not going to happen. I just really think that there will be a further bull market relatively soon, like early next year kind of a thing, even late this year. And that's one reason why I don't know if this is kind of a viable situation. But if the structure is facing that way and it continues to play out that theory, at that point, I'm just going to keep playing it for what it is. Again, that goes back to the whole reacting over predicting, right? If, I can predict that's going to happen, that doesn't mean we're necessarily going to short it down to 20K or 28K, and under no circumstances am I going to change my opinion. No, that's not how trading works, right? So, but that is just a theory that I think in that stream in June, I had pointed out that it's very possible that that would be a thing. Does it feel probable? No. Honestly, no. But is it possible? Absolutely. And that's one thing, if you've been in Bitcoin for more than one market cycle, Bitcoin can do crazy things. If you've been here for more than one full cycle, you understand that Bitcoin can randomly crash 70%. Yes, it would probably take a black swan event of some kind to really spook the markets, but it's possible. And that's the one thing that you just have to be open to. I understand that this market cycle feels different. Every market cycle is different. Every market cycle has bigger players in the space. This market cycle was different than this market cycle, different from this one. Every market cycle had exponentially larger players in the space. So you need that to have a regular market cycle, basically. And every other market cycle that's looked like this, we have ended up eventually hitting that 786, 886. Does it have to happen again? Absolutely not. But it's just something that is possible, right? I remember before COVID last year, It felt like we could never drop down towards that $4,000 again or whatever it was there. We blew through that, to that 786, 886. Yes, it was a black swan event. There was COVID. The indicator sure called it, a couple months in advance, called it in October, and the big move happened in March. So the indicator called it about 5 months in advance. So the structure was already there, black swan or not. The signs were there. And that's something to consider right now is we have one of those sell signals on the indicator right now on the weekly. And yes, not every single one plays out. I mean, this one didn't. Every other one we got at least a 50% crash, I believe it is. Every one of these sell signals has pushed the price down to that 786, 886 fib level. This one doesn't have to. I'm just saying that every single other one on this chart from the beginning of time that the indicator can pick up the data, every time except for this one has had that kind of a move. So again, trends break. Not every signal is going to play out that way, but at this time, it's just another red flag, if nothing else, right? Where would BlackRock want it to be at? Well, see, and here's another thing is, okay, let's talk about BlackRock. Are they known for FOMOing into market cycle tops? Is that how they made their multi-billions and billions of dollars? Or is it more likely that they start controlling the price to levels that they want to get in? I don't have one of those heat maps, so I can't actually bring it up. I know Viking had shared one with me, and there was a bunch of liquidity or a bunch of orders down in this fib pocket. So, I mean, whether or not we go there, there is people waiting to hit those levels, basically. Not saying it has to, but, there's just signs. And realistically, who has more patience in the market? A bunch of retail who thrives on, buying meme coins with silly names and stuff like that, or someone who actually understands the entire economy and has a ton of money and they're not desperate to retire and they, they've played the game before. Are they going to just pump your bags? I mean, maybe. I think eventually, yes, but I think it's more so that they're not going to be FOMOing in. They're not going to be market buying all-time highs. They're not market buying, the breakout. In my opinion, they'd more so be looking to buy dips and stuff like that, right? And in my opinion, they need a lot of liquidity, and I think that it would take some sort of capitulation for them to actually get the kind of bags they want. But we'll have to see, right? Like I said, my opinion will change drastically as soon as we break 70K. I'll still be open to the idea of a pullback, but I would be less bearish about that pullback. And another thing to consider is, it's usually not those bigger players who are pushing. I could be wrong on this, but from my understanding and the way it just makes sense to me is smart money was buying, at lower prices in the last market cycle. And more so when we start seeing this breakout, it's not those large entities FOMOing in and pushing the price. At that point, it's more so they got what they want and they're removing their selling walls and letting the price go, and then retail like us are actually pushing the price, and just on low volume basically, right? Like that's where you see a little bit of a short squeeze, and just seeing that low volume, we are, without those big players stepping in the way for a little while, we are able to actually push the price on low volume, and from there then they can dump on us when they decide it's market cycle high, right? That's just kind of my way of looking at it. Yeah, sure, maybe, some of those larger players, Sailor, and, there is larger players buying on the way up as well. But understand that a lot of the times when market cycles go crazy like that, a lot of the move is actually on lower volume. This sell signal is still holding. It's not a lower sell signal. The only reason I give it some credit is because it happened after testing that 786. Just crazy how far these indicators have come, hey? This indicator just brings up everything for me. I feel like I don't even have to chart anymore. Here's your buy trend, your sell trends, here's your support and resistance boxes, just lays it all out for you. Crazy. Let's get some more colors going. Fuck yeah. It's a nice looking chart. That's another thing, right? Just gotta love the colors. Might be hard to look at for some people. I'm seeing signs of possibly pushing up a little bit higher. The Wave Master's printing a bullish pivot there, but again, I don't know. On this larger swing here, still that 786 there. Yeah, here's that my short and long position that I'm currently holding a little bit. Obviously, yeah, I've paid myself a bunch on both of them, and just letting them run, because I think on the long I only have about 10% still running, but on my short I have about half still running. And yeah, my reason for taking this short was just another Stuber, right? I pointed this out last night. This is one of those times where we do have the proper structure break, right? This is an actual Stuber fib as opposed to that current fib that I have outlined. Just because here we have our low, and when we broke that low, this is the highest point between the two. So that's where I'm pulling my range, from the high between the two down to the lowest point. Boom, entered right at the 886. Played out beautifully. So still in half that guy. And I'm happy that it is basically the other half of my position will get stopped out at basically break even. And that basically works out perfect with the invalidation of this as far as a fib setup. Is in January usually the month they try and make their quota for the year, and then they can relax a bit. Could be. I haven't really looked into it, but that would make sense. Yeah, and Christmas is a huge deal. A lot of earnings from that period will be reported, so they generally are front running that, which is given, really. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens around this election. Generally speaking, yes, around election times, markets really take off. But, I mean, anything can happen with just the uncertainty of the election, uncertainty of the wars, uncertainty with inflation. There's so many things, in my opinion, and with everything trading into resistance, there's just a lot of potential for, like, yeah, there could be a very nice outcome from the election, but there's also a lot of red flags and a lot of potential black swan events in the air right now. So we're gonna have to see. Like I said, I'm just gonna be bearish until we change this lower high trend, and from there I can consider the possibility of being bullish. But for now, there's no reason for me to flip bullish and get FOMO into resistance. Since this played out and I saw the same thumbnails, the same Twitter posts, everything the exact same at the same Fibonacci level, yeah, it doesn't have to happen the exact same, but playing the trend for what it is. Trend is your friend until the end. If we break out to the upside, that last little bit of my long will just continue running, and then I'll start trading to the upside. That's totally fine. But as it stands right now, I think it's just kind of the perfect zone for me to be looking for those short opportunities. And like I said, I'm mostly looking at them as scalps. I'm still paying, like, the first quarter I take off my position very quickly, and from there, basically, yeah, a lot of my positions have got stopped at break even after hitting only my first take profit. But then I'm still looking for those bearish setups. I'm still just looking to get into one that can change from a scalp into a running position, and so far that has happened on this one. So I'm hoping this guy can just run. Yeah, anyways, guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over tonight. If you did appreciate this video, for those of you who are watching this later on my YouTube channel, if you appreciate seeing these behind the scenes, some of the live stream shared a little later, that I'm doing with the MDX ALGO legends here. If you do appreciate being in these and getting to see them, give the thumbs up and subscribe. For those of you here with me right now, thank you all so much for being here. I love doing these streams with you guys. I love hearing your opinions as well. I'll still be here for a couple minutes after I wrap up the stream here. But yeah, just absolutely love doing these. For those of you watching this on my YouTube channel later, if you do want to be a part of these live streams and get access to not only these sweet indicators, but also the VIP Discord, MDX ALGO. There is a link down below, 10% additional discount on checkout. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.